Y'all, have I got a book review for you? Okay, so this past week I dived into a fantasy world by L.J. Andrews. So this is a 9-book series called The Broken Kingdoms, and the first 3 are focused on the Northern Kingdoms. So Shadows and Thorns, Court of Ice and Ash, and Crown of Blood and Ruin. And these books follow Elise Lysander and, well, a man with 3 names, I guess you could say. First chapter, I immediately fell in love. And fantasy is something that I struggle with often, but thankfully hers was just perfect for me and I absolutely adored it and I cannot wait to get started. So first, the first book was witty, humorous, dynamic, twisted, shocking, and so freaking epic. It was a beautiful, epic story. It begins with a kind-hearted princess and a mysterious tradesman, okay? Elise Lysander, she's a royal who doesn't fit in with her own kind, and Legion Grey, a man living a debilitating curse, okay? Together they are forbidden, but after secrets are revealed and blood is spilled, will they end up together? And at the end of that first book, I was like, oh my god, I really hope so. L.J. Andrews' take on the fantasy world is one that I am so much in love with. A complex story of kings and queens, princes and princesses, serfs and agitators, furies and faes. Not once did I find myself lost or confused, which is so surprising a lot in fantasy books because they are very complex and can be all over the place. There are so many characters, so many different powers, and so many different kinds of creatures and people and stuff, but she laid it all out there for you, very easy to follow. And as you get into the books, she adds more and more people and more complex stories, and the storylines are so creative. They are not by any means cheesy or just come out of nowhere. They are very intricate and fit in so well with the storyline. I am so freaking impressed. The twists and curves that this book brought were ones I cheered for, ones that I was hoping for, and ones that I screamed I flipping freaking knew it. Just left me shocked and hopeful for what's to come in the next 2 books. So that is the first book. I absolutely enjoyed it. It got me all started. I was completely hooked and I could not wait to start the second. So the second one is Court of Ice and Ash. And this is where we get a little twisted up here. The first book ended, we weren't really sure what was going to happen with Elise and Legion, aka Valenferus, the Night Prince. We weren't sure, but as we get into it, she chose him, he chose revenge. The man she loves is not who he seems after fate's curse is freaking broken. He remembers who he is and vows to avenge his family. Valenferus chose wrong, but fate has a way of pushing stubborn men back into the right direction. Elise Lysander, once again, is put through the ringer with her family on the opposite side of a long-awaited war, and her lover is pushing her away. But they are reunited in a plan to rescue someone very special and close to Valen, someone he thought long gone, and everyone was surprised and shocked that this person was still alive. Now, they didn't know it at the time, but they will know soon. Valen gives into the inevitable, but more danger comes as they admit their love for each other. So yes, they do end up together, but it's a very hard road and journey to get there. And when he finally realizes what he wants and he chooses her, they get separated and a whole lot of drama and a whole lot of crazy bloodthirst happens, okay? The war has begun, and no one saw this coming. A secret hidden for turns, curses that seem hard to believe. How will fate define their journey? The second in the Northern Kingdom book had me screaming for freaking answers. Some I got, and some I had to wait until the 3rd book. I was on to the entire story. I love the way L.J. Andrews created this world. I was wrapped up in torture, people ready to fight and take their kingdom back. I was furious with a stubborn prince, refused to make his name and crown known. But after careful consideration, this was probably for the best. I believe that it worked out the way it should have. Yes, everyone was aggravated with him at first, but it definitely worked out the way that it was supposed to. I was in love with the story of fight and the willingness to stand together to bring a broken kingdom back together. And number 3 in the Northern Kingdom, Crown of Blood and Ruin. Everything comes to a head here, okay? Finally, after much time and a battle to rescue his forever love, the Night Prince takes his crown. With it, he takes his queen. Elise and Balin prepare their people for the final battle. But after the king is captured, Elise must lead her people. She must show her strength and skill and courage, even to those among her who believe she is not fit to be the queen, because she has blood that runs through her veins that they believe shouldn't be in the crown seat or what. She was cut down and mean and disrespected by her people she thought were her own. But thankfully, after a lot of hard work and a lot of being the queen, it basically worked out. But that does not come without a lot of hardships and a lot of betrayals. It sucks. That subject touches on like real life stuff like segregation and prejudice and racism. It happens everywhere, and it happens in the magical kingdom. So I love that she added that realism in there, and that even in this fantasy world you can relate it back to your own life. But let me tell you, it puts you through a daggum loop, okay? A prophecy has come to light, and all are fighting to make sure it comes to fruition on their side. All answers are finally given, and the dark and twisted fate now makes all the sense in the world. A family is reunited after centuries, and peace can finally be lived. The true people of Edda have returned, and the land is thriving. I am in awe of L.J. Andrews' ability to make this world come to life. The intricacies of lives lived, lost, and fated have come from the most creative freaking mind. I love the portrayal of a queen rising up to lead her people against the negatives, against all fears. My heart swooned for the family reunited. It was after my heart calmed down from the rapid freaking shock that it went through, and I cannot wait to continue the world in book 4 of the Broken Kingdom series. I will say also, this author has mentioned in a previous video that I watched that one of her like top 5 book villains, one of them is Phantom, and yes ma'am, I believe that, and I could see that in every single one of her books. Now the last book in this Broken Kingdom series is Viking meets Phantom of the Opera, but I can see she did this in every single book, because at least the first 3, I can tell you every single time I heard "Tense wallowed in blood," Phantom immediately came to my mind. I could hear him speaking it in my head the entire time. So with that being said, if you are a Phantom of the Opera lover, or a Viking or a fairy tales meet Viking lover, then these are the books for you. I love the fantasy aspect, and like I said, fantasy can get very complicated, but she did not make it complicated at all. It was so sweet, and I loved it. Now it is a little bit lower on the smut side, but the storyline is where it's at, and that's where I typically go for my books. I love the storyline. That's what I follow. So if you wanted a book that has a lot of smut in it, this may not be it, but the storyline is perfection. Thank you, L.J. Andrews.